clear without naming Zach Wilson by name that they're taking Zach Wilson with that number 2 overall pick, and also made it clear if they picked a little bit further down in the first round, they would have been great keeping Sam Darnold. I'm telling you, Darnold is going to thrive, and he's going to dominate now in Carolina. And the shame of it is, if you're a Jets fan, and we heard from a ton of Jets fans in the first hour, the shame of it is that the Jets, now with a real head coach and real offensive coordinator, and they signed Corey Davis, if they kept Sam Darnold, and whether they traded that number 2 pick, whether they drafted Kyle Pitts or an offensive tackle or Jamar Chase, listen, Sam Darnold could have lived out that stardom and potential in New York this year, but I do applaud Joe Douglas for the onions and for basically saying Sam Darnold was not my draft pick. And he now has his head coach in Robert Saleh, and he has his quarterback in Zach Wilson. And here we go. And it's going to be pretty fascinating to see how this all works and all develops. And Wilson needs to be a star, not a good player, a star. And I think he can be a star to prove Joe Douglas right. Needs to be a star. And we have a lot of Falcons conversation and draft in the top 10 today based upon Douglas's commentary and also Dan Jeremiah's mock draft. Trevor Lawrence 1, Zach Wilson 2, Mr. Mac Jones going to San Francisco, where Niners fans should be thrilled if that's the case. Mr. Mac Jones, number 3. And then the draft really starts in a lot of ways at number 4. And if I'm Atlanta, I would never, never, ever, ever would I take a quarterback. You just can't do it. You can't do it. If makes absolutely no sense. You can't take a quarterback with Matt Ryan, especially when you could have someone like Kyle Pitts there or make a trade. And, hopefully it's Denver who wants to trade up so you don't go too far down. That I'm open-minded to. But if I'm Atlanta, I would take Kyle Pitts, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens at 4. Do they take a quarterback? And I would kill Atlanta for that. Take the best player available or trade down, because that's going to impact Cincinnati, who officially released Gio Bernard earlier today. That's going to impact what happens with Miami. We've heard from a ton of Dolphins fans. That's going to impact who's available for Carolina at 8. So there's going to be a major domino effect. And listen, it all starts now with what we believe is that 4th overall pick. And if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, to me, have to, absolutely have to take Kyle Pitts. I'm open-minded to a trade. I'm never taking a quarterback. So the poll question, can't wait for these percentages. What should the Falcons do with the 4th overall pick? Draft a quarterback, draft the best player available, trade down. Can't wait to have you guys chime in on Twitter on that, at Adam Schein, at Mad Dog Radio, and Mr. Scott Moose going to read the results of the poll question coming up in the final hour of the show. Ton of great baseball conversation. My New York Yankees, your New York Yankees, our New York Yankees. Gerrit Cole, watching him work was majestic last night. I mean, the way he owns the mound is awesome. Look, Jacob deGrom's best pitcher in baseball. Gerrit Cole's number 2, okay? For the sake of honesty, and I'm a diehard Yankee fan, I mean, deGrom's earned that. But watching Cole at his craft, and that was the best performance he's had in Yankee pinstripes, I mean, it's a show. He works fast. He owns the mound. He owns the plate. He owns everything. He owns the game. I mean, Judge hit a homer. The Bruce is loose. Stanton obviously is rocking and rolling last 2 nights. And Cole's the show. Cole is the show. So just a ton of great conversation on the Yankees. We gave some love to the Red Sox and to the Astros. They earned it from yesterday. Even though, the love is always going to be a little bit muted coming from me. We talked some Mets in the first hour. We'll get into the Dodgers. We'll get into Juan Soto coming up as we move along. Greg McElroy will join us in the final hour, breaking down the quarterback prospects. I'm really looking forward to that. Chad in San Antonio, our good friend, next on Sports.
Shiner back. How you doing, sir?
What's up, Mr. Chad? Always great to hear your voice. What's cooking?
Oh, nothing. Hot coffee, hot yoga, and hot takes from Adam Schein makes my morning, baby.
I gotta tell you, that's pretty amazing. I mean, that sounds like a perfect combination right there. You know, I
Oh, yeah.
haven't done hot yoga, and I love hot yoga. I haven't done it since the pandemic. That's the one mentally. I'm not quite there. First of all, I don't want to work out in a mask, so I haven't been back. And now, I mean, truth be told, Chad, I'm a Peloton guy. I'm on that Peloton 5-6 times a week. I'm obsessed. So, you know, I love the hot yoga. You know, always feels great, get a great sweat. But I don't know. I don't know. I think the Peloton has taken over physically and mentally for me.
That's awesome. I get my run in every day, and then I hit the weights. I do one circuit, and then I go in there later on and do heavy. So
Oh, that sounds
I get
great.
mine in.
You need it physically and you need it mentally, right?
You gotta do it. You gotta take that break, and you gotta exercise the demons, I call it.
That's right.
Hey, I love your show, Adam, and I always agree with you. There's only one thing right now. When it comes to Sam Darnold, I can't blame the GM with hiring a new coach, sending Sam Darnold off. If I look back at his college stats, he never threw for over 64%. And I know I can't go off stats, but I am today for my point. And he never threw even 60% in the pros. So if I had never watched football before, and I sat down and I had his stats in front of me and I watched one of his games, and I'm not slamming Sam Darnold. You know, I don't want to slam any human being. That's not my way, because I want everybody to do great. But I think if I was a new GM and a new coach, I think I'd send them packing myself.
Listen, I can appreciate where you're coming from. And here's the conundrum when it comes to Sam Darnold. No one has seen it yet. There have been some glimpses. There have been some moments. We've seen him make some unbelievable throws. He hasn't put it together. And if I don't acknowledge that, then I'm not doing my job, which is why I think for the Jets and for Joe Douglas, I get it. I get it. Even if there's a part of me, and there is, as you know, I don't agree with it, boy, I get it. Douglas didn't draft Sam Darnold. And what he's seen, even though a lot of it was a function of, you know, Adam Gase, a horrendous coach. And, you know, I think Darnold's going to be Ryan Tannehill-esque. I mean, look at what Tannehill did when he was freed from Gase. I mean, I think that Darnold's going to do the exact same thing playing for Joe Brady and Matt Rule in Carolina. And by the way, Sam Darnold he's currently 23. He's going to be 24 years old, Chad, this upcoming football season. So I hear what you're saying on the eyeball test. And in that regard, especially if Joe Douglas thinks he is about to draft his franchise quarterback, I applaud it and I get it. But I think this is where we disagree. I think Darnold's going to be a star. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be entrenched in Carolina for a long time, and I think he's going to thrive. And Zach Wilson, he should be that guy. He better be that guy.
If I was just looking at the tape and I was looking at Zach Wilson, and I was a GM, I would be salivating over Zach Wilson. And I hope you're right about Darnold down there. Rule's a great coach. They got the offense coordinator last year out of LSU. If they get him a good tight end to throw to, and that's one thing that I come back to what you're saying. The Jets never gave him. But golly, I go back to USC and come on. But and USC never did either. He didn't have that lifeline, that guy that tight end to drag over the middle and just dump it off.
He didn't have anybody. He didn't have running backs. He didn't have an offensive line. He didn't have a receiver. He didn't have a tight end.
You're right.
He didn't have a coach. He didn't have a coordinator. He didn't have anybody.
He didn't. I hope it works out for Darnold down there in Carolina. I really do, because I like to see all these guys succeed. And another guy that I want to succeed so bad right now, so bad, is Justin Fields. Good Lord, I want him to go into the
Yeah.
pros and just tear it up.
I'll tell you, I'll give you a couple of situations, Chad, and I appreciate the call as always. And this ties in with, the Falcons' fourth overall pick in the draft. If I'm a team like Denver, first of all, Denver needs the quarterback. And Denver needs to make sure that they leave this draft, in my opinion, with either Lance or Fields. If they have the ability to trade up and get Fields, and you put Fields with Hamler, and you put him with Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant, yeah, I think he'll be in a great position to be successful. I also think when it comes to Fields, I mean, can you imagine if he was the quarterback for the New England Patriots? I mean, that would be next level. Sandra in Virginia, our good friends. Next on Sports.
Hello, Adam, my love. How are you?
Sandra, so great to hear your voice. What's cooking? And phenomenal tweet yesterday. Great job in the Schein box, winning tweet of the day. That was awesome.
Oh, listen, the fact that you called it sheer perfection just made my day. The
That's perfect
only
tweet.
other thing I know that is sheer perfection is your hair.
There we go,
So
Sandra.
to be at that level is just a true honor. So
I mean, that's
don't even
basically
care
the
that
Mount
my guy is
Rushmore of perfection, at least from yesterday, right? Your tweet, my hair, in that order. That's how I would put it in terms of yesterday's ranking of perfection. Maybe I'd go, your tweet, my hair, Gerrit Cole for a top 3. How about that?
Woo! I'll take it. I'll take it. Listen, touchy subject. I got to ask you a question.
Give it to me.
What the poop are the Texans going to do at quarterback?
Let's get into Deshaun Watson here. First of all, there's obviously a lot in terms of wait and see. There's also a lot in terms of we are now seeing, and it's awful. 2 of the 22 women who have filed lawsuits against Deshaun Watson alleging sexual assault and inappropriate behavior came forward publicly during a very emotional news conference on Tuesday. And the NFL called the allegations against Watson deeply disturbing and said, quote, "We take these issues very seriously." That's according to Brian McCarthy, who is an NFL spokesperson who we know very well. McCarthy said the league launched an investigation under its personal conduct policy last month after the first allegations and said the NFL is continuing to closely monitor all developments in the matter. So, first of all, this is beyond disturbing, and it's beyond disgusting. And
Without question.
Without question. And it doesn't need to be said, but it's our job to say it and stress it. And it's repulsive, awful, inexplicable behavior. And these are things, a year ago, months ago, we're talking about Deshaun Watson and all the great things he does for charity. Sometimes you have absolutely no idea. This is terrible. And I think the league has enough right now to make sure he's suspended under the code of conduct policy in the National Football League. Because it's perfectly worded, Sandra, where you don't have to be found guilty in a court of law to violate the code of conduct policy. And I firmly believe that Deshaun Watson has already done that. Today, Nike suspended its relationship with him. They didn't throw him out, but they suspended it, and I thought that was the right thing for Nike to do. So, look, it's crazy to think at the beginning of this year we were talking nonstop about Watson being traded. And, Carolina was linked to him, and they obviously just made the Sam Darnold trade. I think at this current stage, obviously, Watson is beyond untouchable. And, you can't do business with Deshaun Watson and you attach yourself as an organization to him. And I think we're looking now at a suspension. And I think we're looking at Tyrod Taylor as your week 1 quarterback for the Houston Texans.
I feel like I am watching the NFL version of Tiger Woods and Lance Armstrong. I mean, this fall from grace, he is hitting that pool in a belly flop. I mean, and this is bigger than football. And normally I like to see teams struggling at the quarterback position more than my pathetic New York Giants. But this is not a laughing matter. This is such a big deal. And I just
Sandra, you're 100% right. This is deeply disturbing. This is awful, repulsive behavior, and this is just terrible on so many levels. And, frankly, I think that Deshaun Watson, and it's stunning to a lot of people, myself included, everything that he's done for charity, but this is, a continuous pattern of behavior, and it's repulsive. I am repulsed by what I am hearing and seeing and reading and everything that continues to come out here with the latest on Deshaun Watson. More of your outstanding telephone calls. Plus, we will hear from Jets general manager Joe Douglas, what he had to say about the Jets' upcoming pick at number 2 overall, and take more of your outstanding telephone calls right after this.